And so here's my question. How do we handle life when the problem solver is the problem starter? Are y'all feeling me tonight? How do we handle life when the one that can get us out of it is the same one that puts us in it? You remember the story of Job, don't you? There was a man who was called Job. He was from a village in a town called Uz. He feared God and eschewed evil. He was a perfect and an upright man. Every morning he would go and give God offerings and sacrifices and worship. And one day Satan came to business meeting. Have I got a witness? The angels and God were together. He showed up at business meeting, but let me tell you, devils can't sneak in without God knowing. I wish I had some help in the building. God says, Satan, what are you doing here? He says, I'm going to and fro. I'm trying to see whose life I can mess up. And so God says, well, have you considered? I like when you talk back to me. Have you considered my servant Job? He says, well, I've been trying to get to him. I've been trying to mess his life up. But you got this hedge around him. You got this security fence around him. You got this alarm system around him. And I seemingly can't get to him. Well, God says, well, you can have him. Just don't take his life. I'm glad that some stuff is off limits from Satan. He may take my job, but he can't take my joy. You can take my home, but you can't take my faith. Have I got any help in here? You can take my car, but you can't take Christ. Is it anybody in the building that can testify when life tried to take some stuff from me, I still had God? And so here it is. We got to remember that God is sovereign because God allows Satan to have Job. And so here it is. I've come to understand that we have to accept what God assigns or allows. He's sovereign. He doesn't have to ask our permission. He does as he pleases. He doesn't have to call you and ask you, can you handle this? Can you do that? He'll just put you through it. Remember that God is sovereign. We wonder why are some things happening in the world that's happening. Why would God allow a man to go in a church where they're having Bible study and he killed 9 people? Why would the Lord allow last week movie theater shootings in Nashville? My answer is I don't know. He's sovereign and he's still in control, and that ought to be our stance. We don't understand him. We have to at the end of the day still say God is sovereign. He's still good. He's still who he is. You got to remember that God is sovereign. But not only must you remember that God is sovereign, number 2, you have to reject the negativity of society. Watch what verse 10 says. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were so afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. And they said unto Moses, because there are no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dwelt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Verse 12, is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than we should die in the wilderness. You got to reject the negativity of society. When you're going through, everybody can't be in your ear. Preacher Mason, I'm going to do the best I can. When you're going through, you can't allow everybody around you, because sometimes they will add insult to your injury. Have I gotten any help in here? And here's the word. Moses is there. He hears the assignment of God. But because the Israelite primitive Baptist church, I ain't got no help in here, because they don't see what God is doing with the leader, now their problem is they're fighting their pastor. You can't see what the leader sees. God gives the vision to the visionaries. Have I got any help in here? and let me come on your street when God has shown you some stuff. Don't let people talk you out of what God is trying to do to you. If he shows you you're going back to school, baby, go back to school and get that degree. If he showed you that you're going to be that entrepreneur, you go ahead and start your business. Whatever God has shown you is for you. Tell somebody, God has shown me some stuff and I believe it. You got to remember that God is sovereign. You got to reject the negativity of society. But watch number 3. You got to remain still. You got to remain still. Watch what verse 13 says. And Moses said unto the people, fear not. Stand still, see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall never see them again no more. Here it is. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. You got to remain still. The Lord says you don't have to fight your own battles. You don't have to get back at your enemies. You don't have to lose sleep and stress and wonder how you gonna get payback. He says, let me do the business. You stay in a child's place. Have I gotten the help in here? Tell somebody, the Lord shall fight your battle. I wonder, is it anybody in the building that can testify? It was some Negroes you had to put in the Lord's hand. I ain't got no help in here. They did you wrong. They tried to dig some ditches for you. They tried to do everything they could. But here's what you did. You prayed for them. May the Lord keep watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. In Jesus' name, God will fight your battle. He says all you have to do is hold your peace. Moses said unto the people, be still and see the salvation of the Lord. God will eliminate your enemies right before your eyes. You don't have to lift up a finger. You don't have to say certain words to get back with it. Y'all feel me tonight? He says, stand and see what the Lord will do. He says, this problem you see today, you shall never see them again anymore. I'm glad that God has the last word. Is there anybody in the building that can testify it's not over until God says it's over? I'm glad when people put the benediction on your life, God will turn that benediction into a new beginning. God will turn your conclusion into a conjunction. Is there anybody here that can testify God has the last word? You got to remember that God is sovereign. You got to reject the negativity of society. You got to remain still. But watch number 4. You must realize that you're being stretched. Realize that you're being stretched. Watch what verse 15 says. And the Lord said unto Moses, why cries thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thy rod up, stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry land through the midst of the sea. Watch what God tells Moses. He says, Moses, why are you crying to me? You know what I showed you. You know the vision that I've showed you. Have not I done enough for you that you ought to know that I'm a God that'll keep my word? And somebody in the house, you need to know that, baby, if he paid your bills last month, if he put gas in the car last month, if he healed your body last year, then surely he can do it again. He says, but lift up your rod. He didn't say go make some weapons. He says, lift up your rod. He says, use what you got in your hand. Use what you got in your hand. Use what you got in your hand. I like the older saints, because the older saints, when they used to cook, and I hear my grandmama talking about stories about when she grew up, when she used to cook for 8 kids and they didn't have much, but what she would do is she would take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and fix it together. And by the time she was done, she had a whole buffet. Have I got any help in the building? You got to use what you got. And then when the turnip greens was gone, she would put cornbread in it and call it pot. Look, I ain't got no help in the building. Stop complaining about what you don't have and use what you got. We serve a God that majors in the minor. Can I say that again? We serve a God that major in the minor. He doesn't have to have a much to make a lot. If you just take your little bit and mix it up with his a lot of bit, I ain't got no help in here. He'll stir it together and he'll do more with it than you ever could. You remember on that backside of a mountain when they were there for rest and relaxation, and when the Lord opened up his eyes, he saw a multitude of people. He saw 5,000 people, not counting women and children. And the disciples, Thomas said, Lord, where are we going to find enough money and enough bread to feed all of these people? This one little boy said, well, I got a lunchbox with me. I got 2 fish and 5 barley loaves, and they put it in the hands of God, and he blessed it and broke it. And not only did they have enough, but they had a more than enough. I wish I had some witnesses in the building that can testify. Preacher, that's my testimony. He'll give you some leftovers even when you don't think it's enough to make it. Have I gotten the help? Is there anybody in the building that testify that he majors in the mind? But lift your rod and stretch out. You got to hear me. God says, I need you to stretch. He said that you got to understand that I'm stretching you and not stressing you. Y'all got to feel your boy tonight. There's a difference between stretching and stressing. You can't lose your mind when your mind is on him. Thou will keep me in perfect peace, whose mind is, and I'm talking to somebody, you've been going through some stuff and you've been stressing, but God says, that's not what I want you to do. I'm not trying to stress you. I'm trying to stretch. Trying to stretch you. I want you to understand that I got to stretch your faith. Every test needs faith, but every faith needs a test. It's one thing to shout about it on Sunday morning, but on Monday when reality gets in, your faith must be tested. I'm in my seat, but watch the text. We got to remember that God is sovereign. You got to reject the negativity of society. You got to remain still. You got to realize that you're being stretched. But here it is, fifthly and finally, you can rejoice because you're a survivor. You can rejoice because you're a survivor. Watch what verse 21 says. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go out back by a strong east wind that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Watch, at this very moment, Moses and the people have nowhere to turn. Behind them are the enemies. Beside them are mountains. Before them is the Red Sea. Behind them is the enemy. Beside them are mountains, and before them is the Red Sea. Have you ever been there? Everywhere you turned, it felt like there was nowhere to go. But watch what he does. God makes the sea gel up, and they go through, and when the enemy comes in, he drowns the enemies. They went through on the water. What was supposed to drown them delivered them. I'm done. What was supposed to drown them delivered them. And I believe there's about 5 people in the house that can testify there was some stuff that was supposed to take me out. There was some stuff that was supposed to take me under. But God used that which was supposed to drown me to deliver them. Is it anybody in the building that can testify all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord?